I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Good afternoon and welcome to the NBA Total Apex Bets and Fantasy Show for February 4th, 2025. With me today, I have my comrade, my homeboy, Lawson Turner and Brandon Ellis. What's up, fellas? How you guys feeling today?
What's going on?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Total Apex's NBA.
So I'm going to start this with a non-bets and fantasy related topic because I heard you guys discussing it in the pre-show. There is some drama unfolding around the Luka trade. Some clear disrespect by the Mavs GM in regards to how he handled the situation with Luka Doncic, as well as some kickback from other players that are like that. That's just plumb disrespectful. Lawson, where are we and what are we learning about this topic as far as how it's affecting player relations moving forward?
I mean, it was the most blindsided trade almost in NBA history. Like when you don't tell your essential cornerstone franchise of Luka Doncic or a player in which the Lakers traded for in Anthony Davis to win a title in 2020, you don't tell either side that this is even an option or that phone calls are being made. It kind of puts distrust between players and front office more than there maybe already was, because we know it's a sport, we know it's a league, but also it's a business, and a lot of these GMs and owners and people in the front offices and in suits, they're more of, okay, how can we upgrade the team, how can we upgrade this, as opposed to really backing your player. Even though we have seen differences between, like, the NFL, for example. The NBA has been a lot more player friendly and things of that nature. But to go back to your original point, I think that to trade somebody who is essentially untouchable, and there are only few players that are truly untouchable in the NBA. And if Luka's not one of them, and one of the big questions are, oh, did they not want to pay him a supermax? Well, if Luka Doncic at 25 is not worth a supermax, then nobody is.
Brandon, I mean, we've seen these TikTok videos of people going on NBA 2K to make that trade with Luka and AD, where it says, no, the GM has deemed this person untradeable. Like he's untouchable. And this draws in some serious questions of, does NBA 2K have it better than the league? Like, I mean, at this point, is a game more accurate than real life? I mean, what's your take on the situation?
So, from the game's standpoint of it, they've always had the values of certain players, right? Hot, like untouchable, and like Luka Doncic, for instance, on the 2K stuff. Like, they always value the young superstars untouchable, unless you come up with the ultra package. Now, the NBA. The real life NBA, right, obviously wants to try to have some realistic opportunities here. I love the fact that I like the fact that the game is more accurate at times, because, like, yes, that trade would never have been done on that game. It should not have been done. This trade should have been, like, the Kings got a better haul for De'Aaron Fox than Dallas did for Luka Doncic. It's crazy to me. And I think the Kings are in a better spot than Dallas is now because of the 3 first-round picks they got for De'Aaron Fox. That's just me. And they got, like, Zach LaVine, and they could still have some bonus. And they could get the De'Aaron Fox replacement in 25 with the Charlotte pick. So that's where I'm at with that.
And I got to say, we got our boy Jordan out here. The trade never made sense. It'll never make sense. You traded a generational talent for an injury-riddled star and a bag of potato chips. I have to disagree a little bit, because the Mavs are in a position, even right now in the Western Conference standings, to try to make a run this year. And what was lacking from Dallas's standpoint? The lack of a big man, the lack of the defense in the hole, and they still have Kyrie Irving. Let's not mistake Now, by no means am I comparing Kyrie to Luka. But what I am saying is Kyrie is no slouch, but now he doesn't have to play second fiddle to Luka Doncic. So, in my opinion, I think the Mavs won this trade. They got to here and now what they needed. It's not about what we think. The Mavs are focused on the here and now. They made it to the finals last year. They feel like they have a chance this year if they can solidify the paint. And that is what they did with AD.
Well, here's the thing, too. They still have Gafford. They still have Lively when he's healthy. They got bigs. And I'm not saying Anthony Davis is not better than those two bigs, right? Because he is. Anthony Davis is probably one of the best bigs in the NBA today. If probably top 3 or 4 big in the league with behind Jokic and Wemby and a couple others. But for me, I think this trade for the grand scheme of things, if I were the Dallas Mavericks, if I were considering trading Mr. Doncic for whatever reason, I would try to get more than one first-round pick. Mm-hmm. And granted, it's a first-round pick in 2029 in the middle of Luka's prime, in his prime years, which means they're going to be 26, 27, 28 with that pick. That's not a great pick. And also, it kind of hurt Utah, too, in that sense, because them keeping it a secret, right? Danny Ainge would never have done that trade if he knew what the Lakers were getting in Mr. Doncic. He would have never done that trade. He would never have been part of the third team for the salary cap purposes of it.
So here's the thing is that I am personally going on record. You hear it Apex Media first. This will change the way trades are done in NBA moving forward. We will see some player associations intervening with this because what the Mavs and the Lakers did blindsided those that were involved. And the players that were involved didn't even know. Like, I'm sure Max Kleber knew he was getting traded, but I bet you he did not know that Luka Doncic's butt was in there as well. Mm-hmm. So this was a complete and utter unprofessional move by both sides who blindsided another team to compensate and try to form a super team with LeBron James and Luka. Mm-hmm. I feel full-heartedly about that. Now, I understand it from the Lakers standpoint of we know that LeBron's on his last legs. Them wheels are starting to get a little wobbly. Okay, so we need to bring in somebody that's going to be able to replace him. I understand that. But it's also got to do with respect for your other comrades, and that was not there. I take offense to that as not only a fan, but as a journalist as well. So, but we're going to go ahead and hop right into this. We have a 7-game slate for you guys today. We're going to be covering where you should be putting your money, where you should be, trying to cash those bets, and where you should be focusing your fantasy lineups. So on the slate first, why not just jump right into it and start with the Mavs coming in at +3.5 against the 76ers in Philly. I'm going to start with Brandon on this one. Brandon, we know that AD obviously is not playing. Kyrie is, I'm pretty sure that Kyrie is out. Yes, Kyrie is day-to-day with the shoulder. Gafford, day-to-day. PJ Washington, day-to-day. Powell and Lively are both out as well. So this is an injury-prone or injury-riddled is a better word, Mavs team. And they're going up against a 76ers team that, when you look at it from a statistical standpoint, let me find the injury report for them. It's never that easy. Joel Embiid is day-to-day, along with Martin, Drummond, George, and Gordon, all day-to-day. Mm-hmm. And McCain, he's been out for a while now, so that's not even worth mentioning. What are we looking at in this game? Give me something that would make me guarantee money back on a bet. Where are you putting your money?
Tyrese Maxey. That's simple. Tyrese Maxey has been balling for the 76ers for the last 3-4 weeks now, and I would play in daily fantasy. I would hammer Tyrese Maxey all my lineups if I can, especially in this matchup against the Mavericks without potentially without Washington, potentially without AD, obviously. Gafford, I think Gafford, I was looking on the real app. It says Gafford is active tonight, so they have that, but no PJ Washington. So I think for me, I think Tyrese Maxey is probably one of the most underrated superstars we have in the NBA today. And I will not hold back on that. And obviously, also,
what are we doing with the bet? What are we doing with the game bet first?
oh,
You're getting into the fantasy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So hold on, one thing at a time here. I want
Sorry, that's my fault. I'll go back to the game bet real quick.
Where are we?
I'm gonna say Sixers cover. I think the Sixers will cover in this game.
Awesome. Lawson, what about you, bub?
Really quick before I jump into betting wise, we do have some breaking news on a trade for the Mavericks. The Mavericks, they're in Philly tonight. These two teams have agreed on a trade. The Mavericks are sending Quentin Grimes to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is sending Caleb Martin to Dallas.
You heard it here first.
solid trade for Dallas, in my opinion. They're getting another wing, another 3-and-D guy in Caleb Martin. We've seen him be a solid playoff performer, especially when the Heat made the finals as the 8 seed a couple years ago. But to get back to this, I even before PJ Washington was ruled out, I was all over Dallas in this matchup with Joel Embiid being probable in this game, even though he's still currently listed as questionable. If you go on NBA.com for your projected lineups, he's projected to start. So, that's kind of he's been out the past couple, maybe the past week and a half, if not longer, with his knee injury. I expect him to play. Now, I think he'll be on a minutes restriction, which could lead to, Dallas taking advantage of those long stretches in which he's not on the court. Because when he's, on his full minutes, he normally plays the entire first quarter and then sits out about midway 75% of the third quarter, second quarter, and then comes back in to finish out the half. I love Dallas in this spot. I think they cover. I think for as great as Tyrese Maxey has been, and he's been awesome, scoring 30 in 9 of the past 12 games in which he has played. I just expect Dallas from a top to bottom standpoint. I think they're too good of a team right now, and I think that I think of the two teams, Dallas is more of in a win now spot, considering that the Sixers, they are injury riddled and they are 10 games under 500.
And you know what everybody's going to ask, who got blindsided this time? Who got blindsided, but this one looks like it's a straight up deal. And I love the fact that you brought up how good Caleb Martin has been, because he has been truly underrated. He is one of those players that has been buried in lineups at a couple of his stops. Okay. And when he is on the court, he is able to produce 18 to 25 points if he's given enough minutes. And I think that when you lose Luka, you can never replace Luka, but you can bring in enough pieces. So I'm actually rolling with you on this one. I think that Caleb Martin trade sort of solidifies a lot of stuff, because obviously from what it sounds like, Quentin Grimes will be, instead of suiting up for Dallas, be suiting up for the Sixers, and vice versa, Caleb Martin. So I'm rolling with the Mavs in this one at plus 3.5. Even though they're down, I know what Tyrese Maxey's been doing, but I think that the Mavs, with all of the media attention, I think that team has something to prove, and that is something that you have to weigh into the equation. Now we can move to the fantasy. I'm with the Mavs plus 3.5. You want to talk about Tyrese Maxey. Now, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am a fantasy guru. I love fantasy, and I look at a lot of different things. So my problem is that when you spend up for a player like Tyrese Maxey, what you essentially are saying is that he is going to get me at least 3x my value on that salary. He is averaging 40-some points, fantasy points per game. Actually, to be precise, he's averaging 46.4 fantasy points per game. Okay. Now, my problem is, and I challenge people when they want to go with the stud of a team is who are you, what lower range salary player are you confident enough to step in and still drop at least 20, 30 fantasy points to compensate? Because me personally, I love living in the 5 to 6K range when I'm building lineups. I'm going to tell you why. Because you're getting those potential players that can go. You look at the matchups and you're like, oh my God, look, dude, he's out. This dude's in, and he's been averaging 30, and he's only 52, $100. That's where I build my lineups. You know what I mean? Because that's where everybody's going to have Tyrese Maxey. So I challenge people and I say, if Tyrese Maxey is in a decent spot, are you really winning anything? Because by the time you put Tyrese Maxey in, 70% of the field's already got it. So you're not gaining anything. You're just staying with the pack. But am I looking at this the wrong way?
No, I don't think you are. That's the thing. I like to have Maxey as a strong play. As like, oh, okay, I can plug Maxey in and not have to worry about that spot for this evening. Kind of a deal. That's my philosophy on it. As well. Another player I like in this game, if he was healthy and not in playing, was PJ Washington. That was one guy I was going to say, but he's not playing tonight, unfortunately. Because PJ Washington has been balling since Luka's been out and everything like that. He's been one of those guys that's consistently averaging 30 to 40 fantasy points in that time frame. It's just unfortunate that he's out tonight. I would have had Washington as that 5, 6, 7K guy to have along with Maxey in this particular game.
Okay, I like it. Lawson, give me a player, whether it be a start, a sit, a fade, a sleeper, whatever.
Sleeper
from this game.
Yeah, big time sleeper, especially since PJ Washington's been out. I would not be surprised if, not saying that he's gonna, go and have a Tyrese Maxey game, but I would not be surprised if Spencer Dinwiddie is a name to watch in this game. You see when PJ is off the court and Kyrie and Dinwiddie are on, you see Dinwiddie's usage rate go up. And what do we know about Kyrie? He's a scoring guard. Now, that was one of the things that was concerning to me when you get rid of Luka, because we've seen Kyrie be that number one option before, and it hasn't necessarily worked out. And outside of Kyrie, they don't have any shot generators. So the usage rate for players like Spencer Dinwiddie, and before he was traded just now, Quentin Grimes, is going to have to go up, and they're going to have to be more of a facilitating role, which we've seen Spencer Dinwiddie be a solid starting point guard in the NBA. When he was in Brooklyn and what he's been to Dallas, he's been a really solid piece. So that would be, for me, a sleeper pick. I wouldn't be surprised if Spencer Dinwiddie has a really solid performance tonight.
And I'm going to follow that up with a stack, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm coming in at 5,300 on this play. And I'm telling you right now, you have to make up for the points that you lost with Luka. I'm rolling Spencer Dinwiddie stacked with Klay Thompson in this. 5,300. He's averaging 24.1 fantasy points per game. I'm getting 4 to 5x out of that play. And that was with Luka on the team. So I think that a Spencer Dinwiddie, especially even with Kyrie being banged up with that shoulder, this is a Spencer Dinwiddie, Klay Thompson coming out party in Dallas. For Dallas, not in Dallas, but for Dallas.
Right.
Okay. I love that play. And what you're doing is, yes, you could follow it up, because I like to stack in the games. Don't get me wrong. There's times when especially in NBA, I don't do no stacks. I just pick the players I think that are going to blow up. But when you look at, some of the smaller tournaments that have one entry, you want to try to maximize that. And when you talk about a particular game like this, I mean, the other thing that I look at is I look at the over-unders. Like, this game is projected to have a relatively, it's an over-under 228, which lets me know that they're not anticipating a whole lot of defense. So at 228, that means there's going to be plenty of scoring opportunities. And so I'm okay because now going back to what Ellis said, now I have a three-person stack because I could put that stud Maxi in there, but I'm also putting two lower range players in there to offset that. And that's my stack for this game. I love Maxi, Whitty, and Thompson. I think that's a hell of a stack there. Moving on to the game of the night. The Celtics travel to the Buckeye State to battle the Eastern Conference leading Cleveland Cavs. The Celtics are coming in at +1 underdogs. This game, I'm starting with loss in this round. This game has more implications than just a regular season game. This is about who's got the biggest cojones, like who's the big dog in the East. There's pride at stake on this. And this is two of the best teams in the NBA battling it out. What are we seeing from the injury report, and what's your take on how this game's going to play?
I mean, both teams are relatively healthy. I mean, for the Cavs, Isaac Okoro and Dean Wade are both still out now. They're not household names, but they were still key rotation guys. In terms of the game in its totality, you hit it right on the nail. These are two of the top teams, especially in the Eastern Conference in the NBA. You have the Cavs sitting on top of the East, and Boston is 5.5 games back. It's a great opportunity for Boston to kind of start to close the gap. You think of 5.5 as a massive gap in between the standings where, well, we're not even at All-Star break yet, and that is 1.5, maybe at most 2 weeks worth of basketball. So, and we've already seen the Cavs before their 4-game winning streak lose 3 in a row. So this is a great opportunity for Boston. I love Boston in this spot. There's a little bit of a regression to the mean because, yes, they beat the brakes off of Dallas last game by 40. They also set a franchise record in hitting 26 threes, and I don't expect them to hit 26 threes again. We saw both teams have already played each other. These two teams have played twice, and they've split at 1 game apiece. And in the one game that the Cavs won, they shot 47% from 3. And I would be shocked if they shot 47% from 3 against this Boston Celtics defense. We know who they are on the perimeter. You know, Drew Holiday, fantastic defender. Derek White, fantastic defender, the best shot blocking guard in the NBA. We know how long, lengthy, and versatile of defenders Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are. And then you have a 7-3 shot blocking center / power forward that Kristaps Porzingis is. They are a really talented bunch. I expect this game to be really fun, really electric, high scoring runs by both teams. I just expect Boston as an underdog after what we just saw them in Philly down 26 in the third, rattle it off and come back to win that game. I think they're riding high, coming back from down 26 in the second half, and I expect Boston as a underdog to go into Cleveland and win tonight. And you're getting Boston at plus money. It's almost an auto play when you have a team that was as dominant as they were last year and as high as their ceiling is talent wise.
You know, Lawson, you're my player props guy.
Right.
And I just saw this stat and I'm like, there is no way this has to be true. So you're going to have to research it. But both times that the Celtics and Cavs have locked horns, Jason Tatum has scored 33 points in both games.
Yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell has scored 35 points in each game.
Yeah.
Dead on it. And from a player prop perspective, that's something juicy, like right there. Like if there's a player prop to like combine 60 points,
yeah,
I think that's a slam dunk at this point because those are the two studs on each team. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Jaylen Brown or anybody like that, but it's just Jason Tatum, when he plays these dominant teams, anytime it's a trend. Anytime the Celtics are playing against a contender, everybody else on that team pretty much becomes irrelevant, and they put the ball in Jason Tatum's hands. It's the trend. Pay attention. And I love this matchup. But Brandon, where are you at? Are you in agreement? You think this is the Celtics game to lose?
You know, I am in somewhat of agreement, but if the Celtics somehow go down 26 again, like they did last night or the other night against the Sixers, if somehow, I don't think that will happen, but if somehow that happens against this Cavs team, this Cavs team will close it out. This Cavs team, I'm impressed with this Cavs team. I've been impressed with them all season long, and I didn't think they would be this high already. And that's due to Kenny Atkinson for me. I think I love Kenny Atkinson, the Kenny Atkinson hire, and it's shown this dude is a great coach that should never have gotten fired from Brooklyn. But that's another topic for another day. I am in agreement. I think the Celtics will win this game, but it's going to be a barn burner down to the wire, fourth quarter. And I like the Celtics to cover and win this game.
I think I'm with you guys on this one, but I am going to sweeten the pot a little because I think that I am from Ohio, and this Cleveland Cavs team that, you know, if I'm not mistaken, it was last year that Boston embarrassed them in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Cavs need to. I think that even though they sit atop the Eastern Conference, I think even though they still have a 5.5 game lead on Boston, all of that aside, if I am a Cavs player, I am looking at destroying Boston. Don't even let it stay close. And for that reason, I'm actually running an alternate spread on this one. I'm taking the Cavs -2.5. Because I think that with Donovan Mitchell healthy, Jared Allen healthy, this whole Cavs team being healthy, yes, I know Boston, but when I bet, I look at the home court advantage. And when Cleveland is doing good, like they are this year and last year, when LeBron was there with D Wade and all these other players, Cleveland is a hostile environment to go into, and that will play a part in tonight's game. The noise, the atmosphere. They hate Boston for what they did. For that reason, I have to go with the Cavs at -2.5. It's just who on Boston is stopping Donovan Mitchell? They're all great defenders, but there are players that are just unguardable. Unfortunate for Boston, Donovan Mitchell is one of those players. Like, you could put two people on him, and then somebody else is going to score.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to sacrifice either man coverage, zone coverage, however you're going to scheme it. And Lord, don't let it be zone coverage, because I promise you, if you put a power forward on Donovan Mitchell, he's getting the and one every time. Guarantee it. I love the Cavs in this as a statement game of we're here. We're not going anywhere. And you can bring your 7-footer in. We got Jaron Allen, who is just as good, if not better.
And also, too, another point to add on that, the two meetings, each home team won.
Yeah.
Each home team won. So I like the alternate spread play that Dusty has pointed out for this matchup, because I could see the Cavs crowd get into this game like it was game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. And I could see this. And normally February games, you don't see that. You don't see like, but now this game tonight is going to be a high intensity playoff matchup. And
we could be potentially looking at the game of the year tonight.
Yeah.
I feel that full heartedly. It's just because both teams are 1-1, and Cleveland knows that they have one more game against Boston before the playoffs, which is at the end of this month.
Yep.
And that game is in Boston.
Yep.
So they need, a worst case scenario, if they win tonight, all Boston could do is tie the series 2-2.
Yep.
But if they get that win tonight and they remain as that number one seed in the East, that means instead of having to go to Boston for the majority of the games, they will have to come to Cleveland, where Boston did not play that well in Cleveland last year in the playoffs.
Nope.
They did not. So it is detrimental for Cleveland to solidify this win. Now, if the Celtics come out and dominate them, then it's like me and you talked yesterday morning in the morning show, Lawson. they could do good all regular season. But if they can't find a way to beat a team in Boston,
Right.
come the playoff time, it don't matter if you finish the season with only 10 losses. It don't matter. You got to have the stamina to go toe-to-toe with the big dogs in the East. And unfortunate for Cleveland, that big dog is the reigning, defending NBA champion Boston Celtics.
Mhm.
You want to be the best, you have to beat the best. That's all there is to it. Now, from a fantasy standpoint, I'm throwing out a sleeper this game because every time you look at the stats, every time that Boston plays a solid contending team, there are two players that end up showing up and showing out. One of them is Jason Tatum. The other one is coming in at $4,600. Let me get this right. Yes, $4,600 on DraftKings. And he is averaging 25.2 fantasy points per game. Ladies and gentlemen, my sleeper for this game, Drew Holiday. When he and Jason Tatum are going contending teams, they go tit for tat. Either Drew is feeding him or Jason Tatum is relying on him because they know that Boston knows that these contending teams are going to focus on him, Jalen, and Porzingis. That leaves Drew and Jason to do the heavy lifting because, like Cleveland has Donovan Mitchell unguardable, Jason Tatum, when he wants to play, is unguardable. I don't care who you put on him. He can score. Am I wrong?
No.
Where are you at with this, Lawson?
In terms of like a sit 'em start sleeper, I look at both centers in this matchup. I think Jared Allen could easily this could be a easy 13-13, 15-15 type game because as much as I love Porzingis on the offensive end and as a pure shot blocker, he's a little light in the boots. Now I expect Porzingis to be the stretch big that he can be. And, I expect him to take at least 4 threes in this game and make 2 of them. We know Porzingis has almost unlimited range, and he is a genuine floor spacer. Now, it could be good for Cleveland that, Porzingis is, kind of just roaming around at the top of the key or trying to space out inside due to they'd probably put Evan Mobley out there because Jared Allen's strengths are around the rim defensively, securing defensive rebounds and blocking shots. So from a fantasy perspective, I like both centers in this matchup, both really talented shot blockers. And for a Cleveland offense that I think will be regression to the mean from 3, I think that could lead to more drives, which could lead to block opportunities for Porzingis.
That's an interesting take. Where are you at with this, Ellis?
I think where I'm at with it, Dusty, I'm a similar mold to you with the lock in Tatum and Mitchell. This would be the locks of this game for either team. But for me, the sleeper, I'm a little different on. I like Drew Holiday as a sleeper in this game, but another name to keep an eye on is Mr. Pritchard.
Mm-hmm.
I like Peyton Pritchard a lot. He's been performing well. I think he can hit that 20.
I don't know if he is playing. That's why I didn't mention him.
He missed last game with the illness, but he's expected to play today.
Yeah, he's active.
Yeah, he's showing up day-to-day illnesses.
Yeah, right. So, he had an illness test yesterday. I think, for me, I have him in my ESPN league, my redraft league, and I think will be available today. So, according to 21 hours ago. So, I guess they updated it after the game last night. The game, after yesterday. So, I like Pritchard a lot in this game. He is coming off of 12.25 his last game fantasy performance, which is not the greatest, out there. But before that, 29.5, 29, 26. And that's perfect for what Dusty's looking for in what you would look for in that 4K, 5K sleeper type of in DFS plays. If he wasn't play, I would agree with Dusty full-heartedly. Drew Holiday would be the guy, or Derek White. Those are the two. Those are the other two for me.
So this is one of these games where I like to stack multiple players.
Yep.
One, I'm leaning towards Drew Holiday. The Jared Allen sort of scares me. The last time that they played, granted it was in Boston, they held Jared Allen to only 10 points and 8 rebounds.
Yep.
And it wasn't even a 20-point performance out of him. But the name that nobody really brought up, and there's a couple of them. One, I think instead of Peyton Pritchard, I'm looking at Derek White. He dropped 37.6 fantasy points on the Cavs the last time they played.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about a player with that kind of potential at 6,100, you follow that up with a 4,600. Now you got 2 Celtics. So then what do we do on the other side of that? I think that even when you want to pay up, you don't go pay up for Donovan Mitchell, but you pay up high enough to go get that Darius Garland, who I think is going to have an integral part in this victory tonight. And then you follow that up with a lower end player where people ain't going to be focusing on. And I really like Caris LeVert in this.
Yeah.
LeVert, Garland, Holiday, White. I think that's the stack. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you get a lot of points out of that. I would not be surprised to see at least 150 points on fantasy out of those 4 players.
Yeah.
And that is a monstrous, and you still have enough jingle in your pocket salary cap wise to be able to, if you want to solidify that, and if you think it's going to be Jason Tatum or Donovan Mitchell to do that, and you could still fill in with some lower end players that will do it. So I really, really like this game from a fantasy aspect. It's just a phenomenal opportunity to cash because every player has the potential on both sides to score double-digit points.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be a score fest. It is.
The over hammer. Going back to the bet side of it, hammer the over. I don't know what I can't off the top of my head. I don't know what the over is, but hammer it. Hammer that over.
Doesn't matter what it is, just hammer it.
Yeah.
Jordan is in here fantasy wise. Sam Hauser is going to have a solid game. Like in my gut, he's going to do well. There you go. Keep it rolling. All right, from the Buckeye State to the Empire State, or actually it's north of the border to Toronto. Yep. The Knicks are finally leaving MSG and going up north. Look, you guys, I really like this Knicks team. Like I don't think that they are getting enough credit because of how bad they have been for so many years. But this is a legit, well-rounded team. And I don't think people are paying them much attention because of the teams like Boston and Cleveland. But this is a dangerous team. You brought in Cat. You got Jalen Brunson. You got OG Anunoby, who's a defensive guru. This is a solid Knicks team. And now they're playing a Raptors team that, I mean, they're not the worst team, but they ain't the greatest team, and they're very, very inconsistent. What does worry me is when you talk about what the Knicks have done in their recent games, I think 5 is a little high. They have not been blowing people out. It's been these 3-point, 4-point victories, 1-point victory. And even though the Raptors don't have the amount of players of the caliber that New York does, Brandon, do you think I'm looking at this the wrong way? I don't think that this is going to be a blowout away from Madison Square Garden. And the reason I say that is because throughout the season, if it's one thing that New York has struggled with, it is traveling. It's like their teams do not travel very well. They do not play with the same intensity that they do at home. And that's commonplace, but you don't go down that far. Like if you look at how many points per game New York's averaging at home versus what they're averaging on the road, it ain't just like a couple point drop. You're talking 10, 15 point difference. Mm-hmm. And that just that throws a lot of red flags. Ellis, what do you think?
I'll say this though, the last 10 Toronto's 8-2. So the Toronto's also been one of those kind of hot teams. Going in what you're saying, Dusty, I think the Knicks pull it out, but it's gonna be close. It's gonna be less than 5. Raptors will cover in this game, in my opinion. I liked a lot of the pieces they got on that team, and it's kind of a motivating revenge kind of factor for RJ Barrett, even though he's been away from that Knicks team for a little over a year now. But you know, RJ Barrett is looking at this game, probably circling on the calendar, even though it's not in the Mecca. But RJ Barrett for me is going to look at this game and say, all right, this is going to be a night to show up. Yes, I think the Knicks will pull out the win in Toronto tonight, but I look for RJ Barrett and a couple other players to have big nights for Toronto to keep this game close.
Brandon, you are biting. Lawson, you over there just biting at the bit, bro. What's weighing on your mind? I can just see the want to in your eyes.
Not to make what Brandon just said moot, but RJ Barrett's already been rolled out with a concussion, which brings me to this point. I think Knicks beat the brakes off of Toronto, even though, like you said, Brandon, they have been hot over the past 10 games with an 8-2 record. However, the Knicks on the road, they're 15-8, and Toronto at home, they're 12-14.
Yeah.
I just think the accumulative talent that New York possesses, like you mentioned, Dusty, you have, you go get Cat, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby. You have a lot of these really high end to upper echelon type players. And I just think they are too much for Toronto, especially a Toronto team that's without one of their best young players in RJ Barrett. Now, Brandon, not to burst your bubble, but yes, he was rolled out with a concussion, which it really hurts Toronto's chances of winning.
It does.
I would be surprised if they cover the 5. I would not be surprised if by tip off spread gets all the way up to 7.5, and I'd still expect them to cover.
Gosh darn it, Lawson.
And I'm glad that you guys pushed back on that. I really did, because there's another piece of the puzzle that is possibly set to make the return to the court tonight, and that is the glorious return to Toronto for the defensive stud that is OG Anunoby.
Yes.
If he plays, I am smashing an alternate spread at -7.5 for the Knicks. That is just a game changer. RJ Barrett is out. I know they got, what's that guard? Scotty Barnes. I know they have Scotty Barnes, and he is a stud in his own right. I mean, let's give credit where credit is due here. But this Knicks team, it hits different. It hits different. And I think that they were real close last year, but the problem is they had all of the injuries with, Julius Randle and, all of these other players just kept getting hurt. Mitchell Robinson missed in an extended period of time. So what did they do? They go out. And if you look back in history, teams that have 2 solid big men, which New York does, they actually have, I don't know if he's still on the team or not, so I apologize, but they still, do they still have Isaiah Hartenstein?
No, he's with OKC.
Okay. So that just goes to show you sometimes I don't pay attention. When you're paying attention to so many different things, you lose sight. But they still do have Mitchell Robinson, and now you have Cat there as well. I'm sorry. That is 2 big men, and we've seen it time and time again what happened with San Antonio. Now, I'm not comparing these 2 to these guys, but when you had David Robinson and Tim Duncan, they won championships. When you have, when you look at what Cleveland has done with their 2 big men, they have been close to winning them championships. The big men are harder to defend because there are not too many legitimate big men in the league. Let's just face it. I grew up on the days of Hakeem Olajuwon, Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, and there's really no big men that are like, no, bro, this dude right here is a beast. Like, you get the tall, lanky ones, and Porzingis is one of those. He is a tall, skinny, lanky, no meat on his bone. But now Shaq Diesel, he was a 7'1", dig on near 300-pound beast that would bulldoze his way through the hole. We don't see that in the league anymore. You know who comes the closest, and he's not even a 7-footer?
Go ahead.
Jaren Jackson Jr. He reminds me of that old school big body guy. Like, he'll get down and dirty in the hole. I love him.
Right.
He is probably one of my favorite center. But I agree with you. I think that this Raptors team is in trouble tonight. I think the Knicks need to get this win. I think they need to improve that road record. And if I'm a Knicks fan, this is a must-win road situation. We need to improve our road performances. How do you do that? What better scenario do you have against an injury-plagued subpar Toronto Raptors team.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry for going on like that, but I've been a Knicks fan. Secret, I'm a Knicks fan, but I've been a Knicks fan since the days of Charlie Ward, Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell. I ain't no bandwagon jumper. Okay, I've been a Knicks fan.
Well, the secret's out now.
Yeah.
I'll say this: the RJ Barrett news does change a lot in what I was saying. So yes, I would
100%.
It does change the news. So,
but I will say this:
yeah,
I will say this. Now, you were talking about revenge narratives, so I am going to stay with that, and I'm going to transition off of RJ Barrett, and I'm switching it to Emmanuel quickly. Watch it tonight in a must-prove situation. You guys screwed up by getting rid of me. Yeah. I think that is the revenge narrative that we need to be looking at. He is a little on the higher side at 5,700, but he is averaging 29 fantasy points per game. I'm going to start with Lawson with the fantasy on this side. Where are you looking at? Am I looking at? Do you think that's a good call with the Emmanuel quickly?
I like Emmanuel quickly's game. I do. Not to play a word game, but he's quick, he's fast, he has a good shot, especially from distance. He rebounds, he assists, he does a little bit of everything. If you're going to spend on the higher end, just go get Cat. I like Yakapurtle. He's weak inside. I think it's a matchup Cat can dominate, especially in the low post, work on the baseline. We know Cat can stretch it from three. Cat this year, especially in New York, I mean, when you look, he's second in the NBA in rebounds per game at 13.5. He has revitalized the thought as to who Cat was in Minnesota. He's really been a dominant force inside and outside all season long, and on the defensive side, like I mentioned, he's averaging almost 14 rebounds per game, which is second in the NBA only to Domantas Sabonis.
I love it. And Brandon, where are you at in this? What would your start, sit, sleep, fade player be in this one?
So my lock would be Brunson in this game. I love Jalen Brunson in this matchup, but a sleeper is on the Toronto side. If he can stay hot, I like Grady Dick as a sleeper in this game at 4,000 on DraftKings right now. I like Grady Dick a lot in this at 25.1 fantasy points per game. It'd be a good matchup for him. If he can get good looks, I think Grady Dick is going to have a good game tonight.
This is one of them games, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is one of those games where you can load up on those low salary people, because outside of Grady Dick, I have another one coming in at a whopping $3,400, especially with RJ Barrett being ruled out. Ochai Agbaji for Toronto. He's averaging 20.7 fantasy points per game. And at 3,400, the dude only needs to score like 10 points and get like 5 rebounds to 3x your value. That is a favorable matchup. It's not favorable like the best on the slate, but it is the NBA. Everybody is high caliber players, whether some are just better than others, but they are professionals. And anytime you're dealing with that, you have to look at that and say playing time. A lot of people that play fantasy don't look at that. They say, oh my God, well, he's doing, we're talking Tyrese Maxey. Yes, go for it. But when you look at the bench, what bench players are getting the most playing time? Those are where I focus my fantasy picks, because it's those players that are going to have a lower ownership rating, which will lead to bigger plays. Because if you can just find that one that is 3,400 and pops off for 25, 30 points, you're winning money.
Like a douche.
I guarantee you. Exactly. You are winning money. You got to find that diamond in the rough. And for me tonight, it is Ochai Agbaji. He's got the playing time. I think it's a fair play. What do you guys think of that call?
Especially with RJ Barrett being ruled out, I could see his minutes getting extended. I mean, He's a solid, nice young player. He's a 40% 3-point shooter. I mean, even if you look at just his last 3 games, I mean, last game, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 3 blocks. And then before that, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. Solid, but only 22 minutes. So you see, when he's averaging, those mid to low 20s, he's still putting up a solid performance. Now with RJ Barrett being out, we can still see those minutes get extended to almost 30 minutes a game. And that 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 3 blocks, that was in 20 minutes. And then even if you look to 3 games back, 24 minutes, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, and a block. And once again, 24 minutes. Just imagine if he gets extended. Imagine if the game is close and he gets into the low 30s minutes.
Yep.
There's your value right there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to start rattling off the next couple games because, in my opinion, they're just sort of dud games.
Yeah.
But we got the Rockets going into Brooklyn. Look, you guys, I don't, from a fantasy aspect, I mean, there's the usual suspects, okay? But these next 2 games are in what I refer to as follow the numbers, okay? The Rockets, there is a reason they're minus 395. I am not scared of taking the Rockets minus 6.5 in this, just because I know what Brooklyn's bringing to the table, and that's a hot pile of garbage. Let's just face it. This is a train wreck, and there's no way. And like I said, I don't even want to waste no time. If you guys have anything to add to it, then be my guest. But this is one of those games like it's going to be beat the brakes off of Brooklyn and go home. Like they're going to fly in, they're going to fly out.
It's got blowout written all over it. I mean, even if you want to touch anyone on this in this game, either it's Şengün or Amon Thompson. That's it. Those are your only 2 like semi plays.
The next one is a little bit more interesting, but you got the Heat traveling to Chicago. I mean, let's face it, this is a shell of a Miami Heat team. I mean, every year we see this. There's all of this controversy going around with Jimmy Butler. For me, I'm rolling against the grain in this one, and I am going with the Bulls at home.
Wow,
I'm taking the Bulls at home. I think that I just feel like the way that the Heat are playing right now, they have a problem, and that is, don't get me wrong, Bam Adebayo is one hell of a center. But he has struggled against Nikola Vucevic. That is the game changer, my friend. When Nikola Vucevic is on his A game against Miami, Miami cannot beat Chicago. Now you're talking about the Kobe White and with the mentality that Jimmy Butler is in and the rest of this Heat team, Kobe White's about to go off, y'all. And I understand the logic, but this is when I look at the lines for this Lawson and Brandon, this lets me know Vegas really don't know. So we're just going to put a generic number on it, and I'm going to stick it to Vegas on this one because I just have that feeling that in Chicago, a hostile environment, even if their team is the worst in the NBA, Chicago, when you go there, it is hostile. It's sort of like Cleveland, but they're they're intimidating year round. It don't matter if they're last in the conference. Don't matter. They are loyal, diehard Bulls fans. I love the Bulls in this. You guys go ahead. Where are you at with it?
Brandon, I'll let you go first, and then I'll,
Okay. Where am I at? I think I'm with Dusty. I think I'm with Dusty in this one. Even though they just traded Levine to Sacramento and that blockbuster 3-team deal, I like the young pieces that Chicago's got with Vucevic. I really do. And also I know Herter's not playing tonight, but when they get Kevin Huerter in this lineup, that's a dangerous piece with this talent around. So give me Chicago in this game because, like Dusty was pointing out, the Miami factor of Jimmy Butler and all that,
He's out too, by the way. I want to throw in he's out.
Yeah, suspended.
He's out. Yeah, he's been suspended. But it's just like the aura of that Butler situation has got Miami in the funk. Yeah. I think Bam will have a better game tonight than he's had in the past against Vucevic, but I think Chicago will cover and win this game by like 3, I think, or 4. So.
It's really interesting because with you guys both, leaning one way, there's no real number indicator to give a side to lean. Like one team over the last 10 is 4-6, and that's the Miami Heat. One team is 3-7 over their last 10. Chicago's home record is 9-16 on the season. Miami's road record is 12-13. Y'all are nuts. I'm leaning Miami all the way. I understand the stigma of Jimmy Butler, and this game's going to be really high scoring. I expect Vuce to have a good game, Kobe White to have a good game. None of these two teams have really good perimeter defenders. I mean, Patrick Williams, a nice perimeter defender. Lonzo Ball can have his nights. I just think Miami, even with no Jimmy Butler, who's been, in and out of the lineups, dealing with suspensions and things of that nature and being injured, I'm picking a Miami Heat team that's better coached, have better high-end players. And to kind of start the fantasy thing, I'm going to throw a name out here. He's a rookie. He's a center. Khalil Ware. I think he's going to beast in this game. I understand Vucevic has been awesome. I expect at minimal a double-double. I expect him to combine for at least 23 points and rebounds. I am all over him in this matchup. I love me.
Call it, bro. Do the lone wolf. Ow! There you go. I love it.
For as much as I'm a Vucevic fan, I've loved him since he was in Orlando. I think he's excellent and awesome. He's an offensive center. He's not quick laterally or with his feet, and I expect a rookie to kind of go in and generate some offensive rebounds and some putbacks. We've seen him be able to stretch the floor over the past week and a half, and especially with his emergence going into the starting lineup and moving Bam from the 5 to the 4. Because what do we know about Bam over the past couple of years? He's a undersized center, but when you move him to a natural position at the 4, that's where he flourishes. And I expect them to pound the glass early and often against Chicago, and I expect Miami to come out here with a win and cover the 3.5 point spread in this game.
There's only one player in this that I'm targeting, and that's because he comes in at a whopping 5,600 and is averaging 26.4 fantasy points per game. Hey, yo, Dasunomo. I love what he's brought. I love how he's filled in for this team,
especially coming back from injury.
Yes, and now that Levine is out, this is his show. And when you think about the matchup, no Jimmy Butler. Okay, yeah. This is an AO game all day. I love that play. The price tag is right. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this game because the next one is about the same way. And we're going to touch base on that. But Ellis, do you have somebody you're targeting in this game or no, not really?
I like the AO play. I really do. Other than that, probably Kobe White. But at like a lower, on my tiers of locks, he's on the lower end. So the IO play would probably be the play if I was doing a DFS. I would do.
And from the bathroom to the porta pot, the Lakers traveling to LA. Yeah. I'm going to tell you why why these numbers are exactly where they need to be. And as you can see, I did the spread. I follow this number to the heart, and I'm going to tell you why. Luka's not playing. LeBron's going to have to do it by themselves. No AD. The Clippers are licking their chops at this opportunity. Now, if this was a week, 2 weeks from now, and Luka was in, this line would be flipped. This is one of these games, you guys, that you follow the numbers. Don't let the fact that LeBron James is on the other side fool you. This is not a sleeper team in LA Clippers, okay? LeBron's going to do his thing, but now he's got a very weak support cast. Who wants to start? Am I looking at this wrong, you guys?
No, this is the Clippers all the way. Zubats is going to dominate Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes could easily get in foul trouble. With his nickname is Big Zoo for a reason. He's a big dominant force on the interior. I believe that Zubats is not to jump the gun when it comes to fantasy. I don't care what his price tag is. You jump on any center that goes against the Lakers until they trade for one. Zubats will dominate this matchup, and I could easily see the Lakers keeping it semi close to about midway through the third quarter, and then a 24-7 Clippers run will kind of break the game open a little bit. I can see Norman Powell running and gunning and smacking 2 or 3 threes. I see a James Harden double. I see Kawhi's minutes start to ramp up just a little bit more week by week, and I can see this get out of hand. I can see it close in the first half, and then the second half, like I said, a 24-7 run midway through the third quarter that kind of just extends a 5-point lead that busted up to 22.
What's your start for the game? Because I got to speed it up. Zubac, gotcha. So Clippers and Zubac. Where are you at, Ellis? You riding it?
I'm riding the Clippers. The wall will have a factor. That I love that interrogation into a dome of the wall. Ballmer had a key point with that. So yes, I think the Clippers tonight, with Lawson was saying, Zubac was going to control this game. For me, my play is on. My play would probably be on the Lakers if Connect gets more minutes tonight. I think Connect could have a decent game for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where my sleeper play would be.
He's looking at 3,800, 15.8 fantasy. It's not a bad play. But I'm rolling with the Clippers. I do love, and this is going to sound weird because I think the Clippers are going to win the game. But I think when you look at the value, it's hard to find a big man. And Zubac is up there in price. But I do like the Jackson Hayes plays from a fantasy standpoint. I'm going to tell you why. Minutes are what matters. And when you're talking about getting a starter at 4,500 at the center position, that is a opportunity that you need to capitalize on, people. Now, the other person that I am looking at in this game is I have one on the Lakers and I have one on the Clippers side. That's going to fly under the radar because of Zuby and Kawhi Leonard. On the Lakers side, I like Jackson. And I love DFS himself, Dorian Finney-Smith. He's got to step up. He's got to. If Lakers are going to be competitive, he has to score at least 15 points in this game. No ands, ifs, or buts. On the other side, they are going to try to focus on the two bigs, Zuby and Kawhi Leonard. What does that leave open? Run Norman Powell in this. He is a little on the high side at 6,900, but he's in that 5 to 6K range that I was referring to, the higher end of the 6K, but he's averaging 35.7 points. And who the hell is going to guard him?
Jared Vanderbilt. But it might not matter.
It may not matter. This is a juicy matchup on paper for Norman Powell. I'm sorry. I can see Kawhi Leonard getting shut down by LeBron. Yeah. That is a good defensive matchup. LeBron is going to stay toe to toe with Kawhi Leonard, guaranteed. Knowing that at this point, LeBron James is the power forward for the Lakers.
Right.
So Jackson Hayes, he's not in a favorable matchup, but minutes is key. And then Norman Powell, juicy. He's going to be stuck with a young player, and he's going to roast him. He is going to roast him, guarantee it. So I love those three players in this game. I love it. On to the last game of the evening. Look, I'm going to kick this to. I want Lawson to deep dive this because yesterday I went against the Trailblazers in what I thought would be a lopsided match against a decent enough Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Phoenix Suns game. and I lost my ass. Okay. I where is this Trailblazers team been? Because over the past 2 to 3 games, they've just came out of nowhere like, hey, y'all, we are still up here in Portland, Oregon, okay? We
Right.
ain't going anywhere. And now they're playing a Pacers team that has Tyrese Halliburton, Mathurin, and Nembhard. Is that too much? Is that too much for the Blazers to compete with?
Now, in terms of both these teams, they're both riding high. They're both riding highs. They're both 8-2 over their last 10 games. When you look at road to home record, Indiana is 14-12 away, and Portland is sitting at 13-13 at home. I think if you're looking at a value side for plus money, I think you jump over Portland. I could see Portland even pulling up a wild upset. Miles Turner's questionable and dealing with an ankle. What do we know? What do we know about this Indiana team? They like to get it and go, and they like to push the pace. We saw them make a really nice comeback last night against a subpar Utah Jazz team. Now, Portland also played last night and won by 2 against those Phoenix Suns in overtime. So both teams coming off back to backs. If this is a true, I know the spread's 5.5, but I see this as an either way game. The talent discrepancy leans Indy. However, I've been way more surprised over the last 10 games with this Portland Trailblazers team. I thought they're just a squad that's middle of the road. They're young, they're fun, they're up and coming. Anthony Simons will be a star. He's awesome. I love his game. DeAndre Ayton's a walking. We saw him last night put up a 20 and 20. He's a walking 14 and 10. You know, they've got some nice pieces. Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson. If Scoot could stop fouling people and play a little bit more efficient, Shaden Sharp's a dynamic scorer. I'm leaning Portland in this game.
Ooh.
You know, I like that call, and see,
Yeah.
I do. I like that call, and that's what a lot of people don't realize, Brandon, is when they see a number like 5.5, they think, man, that ain't very many points. And in the world of NBA, that is like a minute and a half of points with as long as they take to score. So I like your call, Lawson, and the way that you broke that down, because I think that people look at this Portland team's record and are like, they're garbage. No, this is a young, exciting team that really hasn't had an opportunity to gel together. But the only thing that worries me is they have one of my favorite players in the NBA, and I think that he is a dynamic utility player from both ends of the court, can get it done, and that's Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
I love Pascal Siakam.
Mm.
He is a generational player, in my opinion. He's good on the defense. He's not scared to go up against a 7-footer. He's not scared to go out and guard the quickest guy in the NBA. He don't care if he gets roasted. He's going to give his A effort.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Tyrese Halliburton, he's a stud. I think what is coming into play for me, Ellis, is the fact that the Pacers do not travel well. Where are you at with this?
See, that's where I tend to agree with you guys with the Portland call of pulling off this upset. But the only thing for me, if Turner does play, that kind of does swing it into Indiana.
Yeah.
If Miles Turner plays, you can give this to Indy. I don't know that cover the 5.5 spread on this game, but you can give it to the Pacers, because Halliburton, when he does have Turner on the court, is a different player. When Pascal has Turner on the court, different player. This offense in Indiana, it's the run and gun, old D'Antoni system, but upgraded. Like it is so efficient. I would hammer the over if Turner's playing. If you find out Turner's playing, hammer the over in this game. And I probably would do the alternate spread on, for Indiana to cover it even more. I just like this Pacers team when they're fully healthy.
And lastly, if you like, lastly, real quick, if you like recent, your recent over your last 10, The Portland Trailblazers sneaky 9-1 against the spread over the last 10 games. So
Yeah, I know. I know. I saw
Yeah.
it.
once again, just just one last, just kind of,
And I'm going to give you guys my tidbit. Here's my call of the day.
let's hear it.
I am taking, and even if it's a loss, this is what we call good bet. This would be a good loss. You always look for money. Anytime you can get a team that has over a 50% chance, even if it is a 50-50 chance on the game, anytime you can get a plus 180 money line for an upset, and it's the home team that's plus 180,
Yeah.
that is a smash play in my book.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is what we call the risk it for the biscuit. That's all there is to it. You guys are going to hear me say that every day. Risk it for the biscuit at plus 180. You throw $1 on it, and they just so happen to win, you won $2.80.
Yep.
So you
Right.
doubled your money. That's the kind of money that you want. From a fantasy aspect, I'm not even going to get into this because we are like, there's just you can just take a dart and throw it, and that player is liable to have a decent game.
Yeah,
This is just going to be. I do not see this game getting defensive at all.
No.
This is going to be run, gun, shoot, score, and somebody's going to end up with 30 rebounds because the other team ain't going to care about getting a rebound. They're just going to run and gun it and then get back on the court. That's all that's going to happen. So moving into the final segment. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the lock of the day. I want you guys to give me one betting lock of the day and one fantasy player lock of the day. And any thoughts or any final thoughts that you have? I'm going to start with Brandon.
Let's see. Let me go ahead and do my betting lock of the day first, real quick. Looking at it, I think the betting lock of the day for me is this Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers alternate spread of 2.5 is the betting lock of the day. I really like this game tonight, but at the same time, I think the Cavs are like we were talking about. They want this game bad. I think they will want this game bad, and they're coming off a high of blowing out the Mavericks a couple of days ago. I love the Cavs in this spot tonight. So that's my betting. That's my betting lock of the day is the 2.5 spread. My fantasy lock of the day, I said it earlier, Tyrese Maxey. That's my fantasy lock of the day. Tyrese Maxey will make you money tonight.
Go big or go home.
Yep.
I like
you know
it.
what, Lawson, I actually do like his pick of the day on the betting side. I think that's a safe bet. You're getting good plus money there.
Yeah.
And what's your lock? What's your betting lock and fantasy lock of the day?
The New York Knicks will beat the brakes off Toronto. If RJ Barrett was in, it'd be different. I expect this New York Knicks team to win comfortably in the NBA between that 8 to 12 range, which does cover the 5.5 point spread. I think that it's a bad matchup for a Toronto team that's been up and down all season, and they're without one of their best players. Hammer the Knicks in every slip. Fantasy wise, Zubats, and there's really not much more to think about it. Or if you want to go with the Khalil Ware play, he was just named Rookie of the Month for the Eastern Conference. Vucevic is a lackluster defensive center, and I think that he could cause problems for him. And on the defensive end, he's 7 feet tall. He's a long, athletic person that can, he can really disrupt Vuce's rhythm, and defend the rim. Which either those two centers, I don't have a problem with. But yes, Knicks or either those two centers in Big Zoo or Ware for the Miami Heat.
I'm going on the same track as you, Lawson. I am taking the Knicks locked in at an alternate spread at plus 180 currently on DraftKings. Make sure you go on over there and lock it in at minus 9.5 alternate spread for plus 180. That is the lock of the day, people. From a fantasy, I'm getting silly for the millie, so y'all hold on. Now, I called my shot yesterday. It hit. I'm calling it again tonight. Lock of the day, Klay Thompson. Favorable matchup. Got to find points somewhere.
I get you.
At 5,300, why not? I mean, he's got the skills to pay the bills. Now he doesn't have to compete with Luka. Kyrie, he's injured, so he's liable to play, but how many minutes? And they're playing against a Philly team that's going to put up points. So how do you combat that? You let Klay Thompson shoot the three. So I like that. I like that game script for Klay Thompson in this one. So, but it is that time of the day. We had a great show. We've had a lot of fun.
Yes.
But as life often says, all good things must end. So, boys and girls of all ages, thank you for the 45 people that have been watching, dropping comments. The support is awesome. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow morning as we continue to dominate the airwaves with Total Apex Media. We cover everything from sports to entertainment to gaming to Kanye West stripping his wife in public. That's fine too. We do it all. There's no filter. There's no limit. So from all of us here at Total Apex Media, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you visit us on the web. We have 7 different sites. I'm going to speak fast, so hold on because I'm going to sound like an auctioneer. You can visit us at totalapexsports.com, totalapexsportsbets.com, totalapexfantasysports.com, totalapexentertainment.com, totalapexgaming.com, Total Apex Herald for all of your news.com. And then totalapexliving.com. So we have something for everybody. Lawson, Ellis, you guys, again, we killed it.
Yes,
we killed it.
Yes, we did.
So the only way to do it is to say we appreciate you, but we got to go. Peace.